Hello everyone, my name is Claudius Kazan. In this video, we take a look at yet another non-Bach chorale. This time, based on a tune by Philip Nicolai. Philip Nicolai wrote this tune in 1598, so very early Baroque. But this particular arrangement is by Johann Michael Nicolai, a descendant of Philip's. And this guy lived 1629, 1685, still early Baroque. And it's such a popular tune, became such a popular tune that Mr. Johann Sebastian Bach dedicated an entire cantata based on this particular tune. It's so popular, it's basically in every hymn book, in every denomination out there, and I'm sure you'll recognize it. So I'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's take a look at this hymn arrangement, actually, by Johann Michael Nicolai, a descendant of Philip Nicolai, the actual composer of the hymn itself. And luckily, this is written actually in C major, so no key signature flats or sharps that we have to take care of. But that's okay, because this one's a little more complex than the one we took a look at 2 videos back. Okay. I will first perform the hymn for you, okay, so you have an idea of how this particular arrangement sounds. You might have heard different arrangements of this, and there's many out there of different complexities and different sonorities, and everybody who's a Baroque composer wanted to take this particular hymn and arrange it in their own way. As I said, Bach dedicated an entire cantata on this particular hymn, which in German sounds like Wachet auf, ruft uns die Stimme, which translates loosely, awake, the voice is calling. I'll go to the piano right now and I will perform it for you so you have an idea of how it sounds in this particular arrangement. Okay, let's look at the first line of this chorale. As you can see, it's written in C major, all right, no sharps or flats in the key signature. And of course, in the upper left corner, you will see all the triads arranged in root position. Okay, so you can see what the notes are, what the root of the chord is, what the third, what the fifth. Okay, and that synchronizes with the score itself on the lower right. Okay, so you can see exactly what the composer has actually written in the chorale. Okay, but in order for us to do harmonic analysis, it's really important to know what the triads or seventh chords in root position really are. Okay, so the first chord is a C chord, C, E, G, in root position. Therefore, it gets the Roman numeral 1, and it's a major triad. Okay, and triad itself is C, G. Okay, very good. The second chord, obviously, is the one built on A, C, E, and that's a minor chord, A, C, E. okay? And A is in the bass as well. Therefore, it's a root position triad. And the Roman numeral there is 6 minor, okay? Why 6? Because the A, pitch A, it's the 6 in the in C major, C, D, E, F, G, A. All right, so that's 6. And since it's a minor triad, it gets Roman numeral 6 minor, lowercase, okay? Good. Third chord is the chord built on the 5th degree. But we don't have the G in the bass, we have the B in the bass. Okay, the notes are G, B, D. Okay, that's the 5th degree in the key of C. It's a major triad. Okay, it's built on the dominant, it has a dominant function. But here we see it in first inversion. That's why we have the Arabic numeral 6 next to the Roman numeral 5. Okay, and of course, right after that, on the fourth chord is again the chord of the 1, C, E, G, and it is in root position. Therefore, capital Roman numeral 1. Okay, let's move to the third measure. Third measure now has a 7th chord. Okay, and root of that chord is G. Okay, G, B, D, F are the notes. Okay, but notice that the F itself, which is the 7th of the chord, right now it's in the bass. Okay, so it's the lowest sounding note, and if that happens, the Arabic numerals are 4, 2. Now, what do these Arabic numerals mean again? They are intervals above the bass note. Okay, the bass note is the lowest sounding note. Okay, and we have a second, that's why the 2. Okay, F to G, you can see it right there between the bass and the tenor. Okay, F to B in the alto, that's your 4th. Okay, it is a augmented 4th. All right, but nevertheless, it's a 4th. And we also have the root doubled here. The root is G, right? And it's doubled between the tenor and the soprano. Okay, so that's why the Roman numeral 5 with a 4, 2, which means a 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord in third inversion. Okay, because the 7th of the chord, it's actually in the bass. Very good. Let's go to the next chord, and that's again the chord of the 1, but we don't see it in root position here. We see it in first inversion. That's why the Arabic numeral 6 next to the capital Roman numeral 1 there. Okay, so C, E, G, but the E is in the bass, which is the 3rd of the triad. Therefore, the 1, 6. All right, let's move on to the next measure. Next measure is actually the same chord. I know you have 2 beats to that measure, but that's all the chord of the 4. Okay, F, A, C are the notes, but there's some interchanging of notes happening there between the first and the second beat. The beat is actually the half note in this particular chorale, right? So that's why I draw a line in there signifying that the harmony does not change throughout the entire measure. And that concludes the first phrase here. The next chord is the chord of the 1 again. And all these phrases are marked here with fermatas. The fermata marks the end of the first phrase. And because of that, those notes have to be sustained a little longer. Okay, exactly the way I play them when I perform the chorale for you. All right, so we have 4 to 1 relationship in here. And let's move on. Let's finish with the first line. Next chord is the chord of the 5 again. G, B, D are the notes in the triad. Okay, and you do have a G in the bass there as a quarter note, but that immediately moves through the F, okay, on the way down to the next chord in the next measure, which is again the chord of the 1. Now, you can argue in here that you have a passing tone. Remember we talked about passing tones last time. Passing tones are those non-chord tones that are approached and left in the same direction, okay, by step. and this would qualify definitely as a passing tone. But you could also argue that the harmony that's being produced on the very, very last beat there, the last quarter note of that bar, is that of the dominant seventh chord in third inversion, because you can argue that, yes, you have an F in the bass, a B in the tenor, a D in the alto, and the G in the soprano for this chord. Okay? This is a dominant seventh chord in third inversion. So either way it would be correct. You can treat it as a passing tone if you want. But in that case, you would treat it as a non-chord tone. But I think it is a chord tone because it's part of the dominant seventh chord. So either way, it would be fine. That's why I put it in parentheses in there as a 4-2 at that point. Let's go on to the next measure. As I said, this is the next measure is the chord of the 1 in first inversion, 1-6. And the next one is the chord of the 5 again in 4-2 inversion, or the third inversion, okay, because the F is in the bass again. And the last two notes on this particular line are again of the chord of the 1. First one in first inversion, and the last one in root position. Okay, let's look really quickly at the cadences here. We only have one cadence right now. It's that in the middle of the line of the chord of the 4 going to the 1. Okay, so basically the entire fourth measure is the chord of the 4 resolving to the chord of the 1 in the next measure. And this gives us a plagal cadence, okay, because the cadence built between the 4 and the 1 degrees, the 4 to the 1 cadence, is called a plagal cadence, or the amen cadence as we call it popularly. Okay, of course this is an internal cadence, it's not the final cadence, but still we label cadences and we call this the plagal cadence. Very good. Let's move on to line number 2 so that we finish this really quickly. The first chord on line number 2 is that of the chord of the 5, GBD, and it's a triad, not a seventh chord this time, in root position. Okay, very good. Next chord is that of the 6, okay, minor triad, A, C, E are the notes. Okay, that's why you see the 6 as a lowercase Roman numeral. Okay, we saw that before. Next measure, we have an F sharp in there, and that immediately tells you, okay, this particular chord does not belong to C major. Okay, so we have to look outside of C major to see what happens in here. And you can see immediately, if you go 2 chords later, that this particular phrase ends with the chord of the G, G, B, D. And the previous chord to that, it's that of the D, F sharp, A, C. Okay, so that spells a dominant seventh chord, but not in C major. That resolves into G. Okay, however, we have to refer everything back to C major, because we can see later on that he does not really stay in G major for too long. He goes right back to C major. Therefore, this is a very transitory chord. It's a chord that only works, very temporarily in G major. And because of that, we have to use the slash notation. We talked about that last time, okay? And this really works as a dominant seventh chord in the key of G, okay, resolving to G. So it would be the 5, because the dominant is 5, right? In any key, and G is actually the 5th degree in C if we refer everything back to G. So this is a 5 of 5. This is the dominant seventh chord in the key of G, which is the 5 of C major. That's why that slash notation, 5 of 5. And the chord itself is in first inversion. F sharp is in the bass, not the D. That's why the 5/6 of 5. Okay, and the next chord also is the the 5 of 5, but this time he arranges it in root position, and he gives us a 7th chord this time, D, F sharp, A, C. So C, being the 7th, comes into play in here. That's why I analyzed it as a 5-7 of 5. And that, of course, resolves to the chord of the 5 on the final note there on the cadence, right? So remember, whenever you see accidentals that don't belong to the key, and it's very easy to see here because this is written in C major. C major doesn't have any sharps or flats on the key signature. So the moment we see something with an accidental, we immediately think, oh, this doesn't belong to C major. Where does it belong? So your job is to look 2 or 3 notes ahead and see, where does this phrase actually take you? Does the composer give you a cadence in the new key that would tell you, oh, these 2-3 chords work in that particular key? And we can see that all these 3 notes, the 3 chords here, since the introduction of the F sharp, work in the key of G major. G major is the dominant key in C, okay? And G major's key signature is 1 sharp, F sharp. Okay, so that's why, that being the key of the 5, right, the 5th key in the key of C, right, gets the 5 of 5. That of 5 means of G, which is the 5 in the key of C. You can stop the video and really look at this and analyzing. Also correlated with what you see in the upper left corner, okay, because that's really important. And finally here we have a cadence, a 5-1 cadence, but not in C major, in G major. That's why we have to call it the 5 of 5, resolving to the 5. Okay, very good. So let's see what he does afterwards. Immediately after that, he gives you the chord of the 1 again. So you can see immediately he's not thinking of a modulation in here. He's just borrowing a couple of chords from the key of G, and that's it. Now he goes right back into C major on this particular chord. Chord of the 1. Okay, and let's go on and see what happens here. Okay, again, we see the chord of the 6 in the next measure. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, the 4th measure of this line. You have the key, we have the chord of the 6 again in root position as a minor chord. But then he does something interesting again. He borrows another chord from another tonality. This time there's a B flat in there. Okay, let's look at this chord in root position. The root position of this chord is C, E, G, B flat. Okay, it's a dominant 7th chord, right? Now, which key does this dominant 7th chord belong to? Well, if this is the 5 of some key, you have to go down a 5th to find out what that is. So F, B, A, G, F. Oh, F major. F major is the subdominant key of C major, and yes, that key has a B flat in the key signature. That's why that B flat is here. So you see how he's borrowing chords from very closely related keys here. Okay, this would be the 5 of the key of 4, C, D, E, F. So F major is the 4th scale degree in C. Okay, we also call it the subdominant key. Okay, so we have the 5th, the 5-7, the dominant, borrowed from the key of F. Okay, that's why I called it the 5 of 4, 4 being F major. However, this particular 7th chord here is not in root position. It's in 1st inversion. And the way to notate a dominant 7th chord in 1st inversion is with a 6-5. Remember that 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2? We talked about this, quite a few videos back. That's why you see the 5, 6, 5 of 4 of F major. Okay, so let's see what happens in the next chord. Yes, we borrow this from F major. Of course, he resolves it to the F chord. The F chord being the 4 in C major. Okay. And that's a major triad in root position, as you can see. And that's all he does right there. Just 2 chords. Actually, just 1 borrowed from the key of F, because the chord of the F itself really belongs to C as well as the 4. But he only borrowed 1 chord from the key of F. the one that contained that B flat. Okay, so this particular next chord here is the chord of the 6 again, and it functions perfectly in C major. The next one after that is the chord of the 2. D, F, A, C are the notes, and it sounds like this. Okay, it's a minor 7th chord. Okay, what's in the minor 7th chord? It's a minor triad on the bottom with a minor 7th on top. Okay, we looked at all these 7th chords when we looked at the qualities of the 7th chords, and the one with the minor triad on the bottom, minor 7th on top, we simply call that the minor 7th chord. That's why you see the lowercase 2. And the 7 because it's in root position. So a root position 7th chord is notated with a 7. Okay, so 2, 7. Let's go on, and we can see next the chord of the 5 functions perfectly in C major. Okay, and of course that resolves to the chord of the 1, where you get also the fermata. Okay, very good. So you can see a few secondary relationships here. Okay, some chords, in other words, chords borrowed from other tonalities, like G major, the dominant key in C, or F major, the subdominant key in C. Okay, very good. Let's quickly look at the cadences here. We have a perfect authentic in the key of 5 at the beginning here of the line. That's because we have that 5-7-1 relationship. Even though it does not function in C major, it functions in the key of G, but still it's a 5-1 relationship, 5-1 chord progression. Therefore, it is a authentic cadence. Now let's look to see if it's perfect or not. It is perfect because G, which is the root of the chord, it's present in the bass as well as the soprano. So I simply call this a PA in 5. Why 5? Because it ends on G, which is 5 in the key of C. All right, so this is a perfect authentic in the key of G or 5. And of course, we have another cadence here, the one at the end of the line. And this is also a PA, but this time in the original key, or 1. Okay, so this is a PA in 1, and PA because it's a perfect authentic. Perfect because the root of the chord, C in this case, it's also present in the soprano, not just the bass. Okay, very good. Next time, we're going to take a look at the rest of the chorale. Okay, the rest of the chorale in 2 more lines. And let's see if we can learn some more from there. And, this is in preparation definitely for something a lot more complex that we will study when we bring in some Bach chorales. Okay, and we learn about a lot more non-chord tones and more distant related keys and so on. Okay. So, very good. This concludes the theoretic part of today. Okay, feel free to stop the video or rewind the video and make sure that you understand how the triads that you can see in the upper left corner really correlate with the chords that you can see on the lower right score. Very good. Let's move on now to let's move on to the solfege. Okay, before we do the star, let's switch them around a little bit. Solfege, it's solfege number 44, I believe. Let's see, I think that's what it is. Number 44, okay. Let's quickly take a look at number 44. It's written in the key of, let's see, we have 4 flats in the key signature. What key would that be? Okay, we know that there's 2 keys with 4 flats, one that's major, one that's minor. Okay, and some of you might already know, the major one is A flat major, and the minor one it's F minor, all right? This one is definitely F minor, because I'm looking at the end, I can see that it ends with F. It also starts with a C, which is part of the tonic chord, F, A flat C. Okay, is the tonic chord in F minor, so that really qualifies for a good starting note. And I see a lot of E naturals in here. What's E natural in the key of F minor? It's the leading tone, okay? So because of the presence of those E naturals all over the place here, that solidifies the fact that, yes, we indeed are talking about F minor. I'm also looking to see if I see any D naturals. And I don't see many of them. I actually don't see any of them. But I see E naturals, which means that this particular solfege, it's written in the harmonic form of F minor, not the melodic form. The melodic form has both the 6th and the 7th degrees raised, but this one only raises the 7th degree and leaves the 6th degree where it should be, as a D flat. Therefore, the scale itself will sound like this. And backwards. Okay? And because of that, we have that augmented second between the D flat and E natural, which makes it a little more difficult to sound, to sing when you actually sing it. Instrumentalists don't have that problem because they can just put the fingers wherever they need to be on the piano or the violin, or okay. But singing, you got to be a little more careful because there's a larger interval of the second there between D flat and E natural. Okay, so enough talk about this. Let's look at the rhythm itself. There's some ties over the bar line. This one really deals with 16th notes and subdivisions of the 16th notes. There's some rests here to contend with, some really short rests, 16th note rests. Okay, and on the last line, if you take a look there, there's a chain of syncopations. Okay, quite a long chain of syncopations on the last line and the first measure. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to put the metronome this time at, let's do it at 70. Makes no sense to go too fast on this. Okay, so let's see. Where's my metronome here? There it is. Make sure that the volume is up. There we go. And well, I'm going to bring it down to 70. And this is how it's going to sound. Very good. And here's my solfege, my tonic chord.
Do, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, si, la, sol, fa, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, do. Do, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, la, sol, la, sol, si, mi, re, si, do, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, mi, fa, sol, re, mi, re, do, si, do, mi, fa, si, la, sol, do, fa, la, sol, do, fa, si, la, sol, fa, sol, la, do, si, do, mi, fa, sol, la, si, sol, do, fa, si, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, do, la, sol, fa, mi, fa.
Okay, that will have to do. Very good. Let's move on to star. The star exercise, it's actually number 42. Number 42 in the star. Okay, we're still dealing here with 16th notes. That's the chapter on 16th notes. And this one's written in 3/4. And basically what you have here is just different rhythmic formulas around the idea of 16th notes, basically, right? And he's introducing you to rests here as well. And pretty much what you saw in the solfege, the same stuff. Some ties and rests, I think that's what it is. And a different combination of 16th notes. Okay, I'm going to leave the metronome at 70. Okay, and let's look at number 42. It's written in 3/4. Let's see. Ta 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 ta. Ta 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 ta. All right, great. That will have to do. Good. For next time, let's take a look at number 43, just 43, okay? And I'll perform it again for you guys so you can hear how it should be performed. Okay, work this very slowly, okay, one line at a time, and then put them together with the metronome. And you're not stuck at 70. You can go much slower first. You can go 60, you can go 55. Don't go too slow, then it's a little too difficult to anticipate what the beat is going to be, okay? But if you start around 60 and then move up to 70, that should be good. So number 43 for next time, and 2 more solfeges, okay? Solfege number, I think this was 44, so 45 and 46, okay? And again, the idea here is being familiar, very familiar with 16th notes and different combination of 16th notes, okay? So number 43 for next time. And we're working our way up to mixing subdivisions of the beat. You know, triplets and 16th notes together and so on, and different combinations of that. Excellent. Good. In my next video, we're going to continue with the harmonic analysis of the chorale that you heard today, arranged by Mr. Nikolai. All right, and hopefully we'll finish that next time, and then we'll get to go into some more complex chorales by Johann Sebastian Bach, the pinnacle of the Baroque period. Great. Until next time, stay healthy and happy and safe.